From the dawn of time, mankind has been on a relentless pursuit of perfection.
Small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We began with stone tools, hunting mammoths with spears, and figuring out fire, a big win, no doubt. We built the wheel, forged metal, harnessed the power of steam, and suddenly, we're flying through the skies in machines powered by fire. The point is, humans can do just about anything. Now, fast forward to 1986. It was the era when turbocharged beasts were roaring down gravel roads, and Japanese tech was all but taking over the world. Yet, a few German engineers, likely fueled by a mix of beer and pure stubbornness, decided they had something to prove. They wanted to combine man and machine so perfectly that nothing could stop them. What they ended up creating was nothing short of groundbreaking. A car crafted with passion and precision. So balanced and agile, it made even the trickiest of turns seem like a breeze. This is the story of the BMW M3, the car that redefined what it means to drive. Yes, you read it right. BMW once supplied airplane engines to Hitler. You see, back in the 1920s, BMW wasn't making cars. They were crafting airplane engines and were damn good at it. In fact, that iconic blue and white emblem on the hood of BMW is not just a Bavarian flag. It represents a spinning airplane propeller against a clear blue sky, a symbol of the company's roots in aviation. Among the top engineers at BMW was Willy Messerschmitt, a guy who was obsessed with flying. In his early career, he designed gliders. But Willy wasn't content with just gliding around. He wanted to dominate the skies. Fortunately for Willy, the madman Hitler was around the same time in need of some new planes to help him in his crazy plans to conquer the world. So naturally, Willy saw this as his chance to shine. The catch? Navigating the stringent rules of aircraft design. But constraints breed creativity, and Willy's ingenuity led to the creation of the Bf-109, a sleek, fast, and deadly fighter that became one of the most feared aircraft of World War II. It wasn't the most heavily armed, but it was so perfectly balanced that in the hands of a skilled pilot, it was virtually unstoppable. This philosophy of balance and precision would later become the cornerstone of BMW's automotive endeavors. A few decades after World War II, wars weren't being fought in the skies anymore. They were being fought on tarmac. The new battlegrounds were racetracks, where the roar of engines replaced the sound of gunfire. But the thirst for victory was just as real.
Since its introduction in the US, BMW has outperformed the energy crisis.
I need you to picture this. It's the 1980s, and the car world is a bit of a mess. Fuel is hard to come by thanks to the oil crisis. And the big, powerful cars are starting to look a little out of place. The car scene is shifting. Lighter, smaller, and more fuel-efficient machines are the new kings. In this new world order, Mercedes reigns supreme with their 190e, a car that's not only flying off the shelves, but also tearing up the racetrack. But here's where things get interesting. Mercedes, in a moment of corporate melodrama, decided to quit racing after Audi handed them a well-deserved spanking. Yet, some engineers in Stuttgart, unwilling to let go of their need for speed, decided to go rogue. These rebels, teaming up with AMG, started building race-ready versions of the 190e anyway. Think of it like a secret side project, but with way more horsepower. These wildcard engineers had their eyes on a new series, forgive my pronunciation, the Deutsche Tourenwagen Meisterschaft, or DTM. Nailed it. This series, kicking off in 1984, was like Germany's love letter to its finest cars. To make things even more epic, the infamous Nürburgring had just reopened after a massive makeover. The stage was set. And to celebrate, they threw a race of champions at the green hell, pitting only Mercedes 190Es against each other. When the race was over, the late Ayrton Senna stood victorious. Suddenly, the 190E was on top of the world, and Mercedes-Benz was basking in the glory. But across town, BMW was fuming. They weren't about to let their Bavarian rivals steal the show without a fight. Unfortunately for BMW, they were still mentally stuck in the 70s, racing their big, heavy cars. Sure, they had a bright idea with their new M division, which was led by Bob Lutz, but it wasn't quite cutting it. DTM was the hot ticket in European racing in the early 80s, with strict FIA's Group A regulations that would bore you to death if you weren't a total racing nerd. But rules are rules, and in racing, they make or break you. The first and most crucial rule: homologation. In DTM, your car had to be based on a real production model. No sneaky one-off prototypes here. And not just a handful of cars either. They demanded 5,000 road-ready versions per year. So, BMW found itself up against the wall. They were competing with their 635 CSI, which, while not bad, was more suited for a fancy dinner date than a high-octane race. They managed to snag a win in the inaugural DTM season, but the writing was on the wall. Their 6 Series was just too heavy. By 1986, Mercedes had decided to take the gloves off and fully back the 190E. No more secret projects. This was war. After the 1985 DTM season loss to a Volvo 240 Turbo, the 1986 DTM season would prove to be the final nail in the coffin of the BMW 635 CSI DTM adventure after they got whooped by a Rova Vitesse. That's right, a Rova Vitesse. So you can imagine the embarrassment for BMW's proud engineers watching a Rover, of all things, triumph on German soil. It was clear that the future of motorsport demanded smaller, more agile cars. And BMW's CEO, Eberhard von Kuenheim, was going to lead that future. Enter Eberhard von Kuenheim, BMW's CEO, and a man on a mission with an unyielding passion for excellence. He was determined to see BMW rise above its competitors. When Eberhard took the helm, BMW was in a bit of a mess, on the brink of bankruptcy and still shaking off the cobwebs of post-World War II recovery. They were dabbling in motorcycles, making some okay cars, but nothing to set the world on fire. Eberhard grabbed the reins and with the help of the M division and Bob Lutz, steered the company in a bold new direction. No more just getting by. BMW was going to make ultimate driving machines. Passion, stirring beasts, not just functional vehicles. But in order to achieve all this, they needed to be taken seriously. And there was only one way to do that: win on the track. So Eberhard directed the motorsports division to focus on one task: build the fastest touring car in the world, and put everyone else, including Ford and Mercedes, in the rear view mirror. But there was a hitch. Remember the rules of homologation? To compete in DTM, BMW needed a road car to base their race car on. Their best option at the time? The 3 Series. Yet, in its standard form, it wasn't exactly the stuff of legends. This little Grossarigetta was underpowered with an engine that was practically a relic from the 60s. It barely produced 100 horsepower, and to make matters worse, the body was too small and narrow to fit the fat racing tires needed to grip the asphalt. But rules are rules, and BMW's higher-ups had to play the hand they were dealt. If they had to use a production car, then by all means, they were going to turn it into the meanest, baddest race car the world had ever seen, and then sell it to the public. This approach was risky, and the company's accountants were understandably nervous, so they called for a meeting with Eberhard and voiced their concerns. But like a mafia don, he just sat there in silence, watching as they paraded their little graphs. This guy was as stubborn as a mule, so it won't surprise you to know he took everything they said and shoved it straight where the sun don't shine. Nothing was going to stop him.
Nothing is gonna stop me.
BMW was going to win at all cost. And so it began. With the backing of the CEO and a blank check, the M division embarked on a monumental task: transform the 3 Series into a racing beast. So they rolled a 3 Series into the garage, stripped it down to its bare bones, and rebuilt it from the ground up with one goal in mind: winning. First up was the engine. The old 3 Series engine was a no-go, and the E30 had a tiny engine bay. So they needed a small, powerful engine that could fit. Luckily for BMW, they had the best engine designer, the legendary Paul Roche, who'd later design the McLaren Formula One engine. Roche took the old M10 4-cylinder engine, which had been around since the 1950s, and worked his magic. He slapped on a modified head from his legendary M88 engine and added individual throttle bodies for that high-revving race feel. It took Roche only 14 days to craft the engine, so they named it the S14 engine, a lightweight, high-revving beast designed to scream its way around the track. And it wasn't just loud, it was mean, ready to bite anyone who dared challenge it. To handle the S14's power, BMW threw in a Getrag 5-speed with a dogleg layout, which, while a bit quirky for a road car, was perfect for slicing through gears on a racetrack. The M3's transformation was extensive. The car was widened, lightened, and equipped with performance-focused components. Every detail was optimized for racing, from the aerodynamic tweaks to the custom suspension and brakes. The result was a vehicle that looked like a 3 Series, but was, in reality, a bespoke racing machine.
For 70 years, they've given form and substance to an automotive vision. Now, 4 generations of BMW engineers present their life's work. If a car company can have a soul, this is ours.
By March of 1986, the first E30 M3s were rolling off the assembly line. BMW was cautious at first, releasing just a few to see if anyone would bite. But once people caught a glimpse of what the M3 could do on the track, demand skyrocketed. The M3 wasn't just another sporty coupe. It was the ultimate double agent, a race car in disguise. You could roll up to school, pick up your kid, and drive it home like it's a soccer mom's car. But as soon as you drop them off, that sweet scent of burning rubbers, you unleash it on the racetrack. It was the ultimate dual-purpose machine, and people couldn't get enough of it. Talk about egg on the accountants' faces, those number crunches. Turns out, Eberhard was right. BMW couldn't even meet the demand for the M3. They needed 5,000 units for homologation, but they ended up selling over 10,000 before they had to put the brakes on production. The M3 became a sensation, a car that defined BMW's M division and set the stage for generations of high-performance vehicles to come. It was a revolution on wheels. BMW gave the people something they didn't even know they were missing. A road car with the heart of a beast. A machine that rode with racing heritage but was tame enough to babysit a toddler. Picture it. Sleek lines, blue and white emblem gleaming under the sun. But beneath the surface, fire and fury, waiting for the moment to be unleashed. It was a weapon, balanced to perfection. In the right hands, the M3 was unstoppable. Like the infamous BF-109 fighter plane. This car had blood on its wheels, and if it had you locked in, you'd better hope you were on the same team. You might have rolled up to a racetrack in your Alfa Romeo or a Ford Cosworth, boasting more horsepower and confidence, but the M3, it didn't care about numbers. It played by its own rules. Lightweight, naturally aspirated and engineered to be as precise as a scalpel. The M3 could take corners harder, brake later, and still outlast the competition. It was humble on paper, but on the asphalt, it devoured rivals and spat them out in the dust. That first year, 1987, manufacturers across the globe felt the sting of its dominance. The M3 took home trophies in the Australian, European, and World Touring Car Championships. It crushed Mercedes-Benz on their home turf, and BMW's victory lap culminated with Eric van der Poel standing victorious in DTM. At the height of its reign, the M3 was winning a race every single day. Over 3 years, it amassed 1,436 victories, making it the most successful touring car ever. The E30 M3 wasn't just fast, it was relentless. Years later, Japan would unleash its own legend, the R32 GTR, but even that juggernaut couldn't touch the M3's record. The E30's reign in the 80s was like nothing before, and probably like nothing we'll ever see again. The M3 changed everything. It proved that a race car could also be the ultimate road car. BMW had shown the world that people didn't just want to watch race cars, they wanted to drive them too. And boy did they drive them. Every BMW M car since has carried the torch lit by the E30 M3. Each generation, fast, fierce, is a tribute to that original idea. A race car for the road, with no compromises. This car didn't just change BMW, it changed the world of performance cars forever.
You see it again. Coming up on your left. The brightness.
And here we are, with all that progress behind us. From hunting mammoths with spears to the sleek marvels of engineering that can devour asphalt. The BMW E30 M3 is the embodiment of that relentless human drive for perfection. It's not just a car, it's the result of centuries of innovation, the kind that took us from stone tools to roaring engines. This machine wasn't built just to win races. It was crafted to capture that spirit of excellence that has driven us since the dawn of time. The E30 M3 is a testament to our ability to push boundaries, not just to survive, but to thrive. And let's be honest, to have a lot of fun doing it. Just like fire, the wheel, and steam engines, the E30 M3 stands as a symbol of what we're capable of when we aim for greatness and refuse to settle for anything less.